So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to go through some pelvic floor exercises, talk about what you should do, when you should do it. Let's talk about anatomy first. So I want you to think of your core as an egg. So the front part of your egg is your abdominals, and we are going to pay attention to the transverse abdominis and the obliques. The rectus abdominis, or your six-pack muscle, is a very common compensator, and we don't want to focus on that muscle because if it's too strong or too overactive, that can lead to dysfunction. It can lead to diastasis. So we want to focus on those low, deep transverse abs and obliques. The back side of your egg is your back, and then you have your diaphragm as the top and your pelvic floor as the bottom. So we want that egg to have good balance, good synchronization, good control. We don't want like one side of the egg to be really tight, forcing the other side to be weak and have this tug of war going on. We don't want like the side of the egg to stay in one position. Like if you have a tight pelvic floor and it never learns to relax, or your diaphragm, your respiratory diaphragm and your pelvic floor diaphragm are not synchronizing together. Roxy's gonna join us apparently for this talk. So we wanna think of good balance, good control. Not everyone should do Kegels. So if you have pain with sex or tailbone pain, sometimes even like pubic pain, SI pain, you're probably having too much tightness in that pelvic floor and you need to learn how to relax. Many times that's the case, is people need to learn how to relax that pelvic floor. So you should not be doing Kegels if your pelvic floor is already tight, because you're just feeding the problem. You first need to get that range of motion by being able to relax your pelvic floor, and then once that can happen, then you can learn on contracting it and going through that range of motion. If you're having more, like prolapse symptoms, that can be more of a weakness, but there also can be an overlap where, part of your pelvic floor is tight and part is weak. Like there's not a clear-cut separation. There's a lot of gray area. And this is why it's so important, if you're having dysfunction, to find a pelvic PT, because everyone is so different, symptoms are different, your bodies are different, and you don't want to be doing something that's making the problem worse. So if you do Kegels and it hurts, you shouldn't be doing Kegels. Kegels should never hurt. Most exercises should never hurt. Like you get muscle fatigue and like delayed soreness, that's okay. But as far as like joint pain or like muscle spasming pain, you don't want that. So this is a great book just for overall, education and just, figuring out what the pelvic floor is and what it does and what you should be aware of. It's called Heal Pelvic Pain by Amy Stein, and she's one of the pioneers of pelvic rehab. So it's a good book, but it has sections on like what exercises you should do when, and like a program that you can progress through. So there's like a whole list. These 2 pages are full of symptoms of a tight pelvic floor, and then she goes into when you need to strengthen your pelvic floor, and that's mostly like prolapse and stress incontinence and erectile dysfunction. But she says that you should not do you should not do Kegels every day if you do not have problems. So if you have no pelvic symptoms and you're feeling great, you should only do Kegels 3 times a week. Versus if you're working on strengthening, you should be doing Kegels 3 times a day. So that's quite the difference. But that's why I said like everyone's different, and in order to really figure out what your problem is, if you're having problems, you should go see a medical professional. So we're going to go through some pelvic floor exercises. First, we want you to figure out how to relax your pelvic floor. So, and this is pretty safe for everybody because, like I said, most people have a tight pelvic floor, but still, you should not be getting any discomfort. So if you feel like you have a really tight back, you can use a wedge to put under your sacrum. So you're like, if you put it right under, so the top of your pelvis, you just go down a little bit. That'll help you relax your lower back to be, think of like a hammock. And you want, in this position, you want the weight through your heels. And when you, well, we're not going to do a tuck yet, so never mind on that. But you want to just be relaxed. You can also do it with nothing and just lay here. If you are really pregnant and you can't lay on your back, it's not comfortable, you can try to lay on your side, put something between your legs in a comfortable position. You can also try this sitting on an exercise ball. This is not the same concept, air-filled, but not an exercise ball, but just sitting here and seeing if you can feel that pelvic floor relax or gently, I don't want to say push. You never want to bear down or like push your pelvic floor out, but when you inhale, see if you can feel that pelvic floor descend a little bit into the ball, and that'll let you know if like you're getting that range of motion or relaxing. But otherwise, you're going to be here. I want you to get those ribs down on the exhale, because that's going to let that diaphragm go up and relax and take some pressure off your pelvic floor. So when you inhale, your diaphragm flattens and that pushes on the organs, which then that pelvic floor should descend a little bit and accept that pressure. So inhale, you should feel that pelvic floor just it's not really a stretch, it's accepting that pressure. And then when you exhale and those ribs go in, get a good exhale through your mouth, that's when, we're not going to do Kegels, but that's when you would want to do a Kegel if you're working in it. So just breathe, focus on your inhale and seeing if that pelvic floor will relax, and then exhale and just leave that pelvis where it is. So inhale, you want full inhales, or full exhales, sorry. So that's a good exercise to just feel that pelvic floor start to go through that motion and to determine if you feel it relax or if you can't feel a difference when you breathe. If you can't feel a difference, you can't feel that pelvic floor relax at all, then there's a dysfunction. You don't have awareness or control over your pelvic floor, and if left unchecked, that can turn into something worse. So like any muscle, you want the full range of motion. So work on this, get a sense of what that feels like, make sure that you can feel that pelvic floor accepting pressure. So now we're gonna go into some synchronizing the breathing with the pelvic floor. But if you're getting any pain with Kegels, or you think that you might have like a tight pelvic floor, you should not be doing Kegels. So let's start here. When you inhale through your nose, you're gonna feel that pelvic floor, accept that pressure. When you exhale, your ribs are going down, pressure through your heels, and you're rolling that pelvis back so that your low back is flat on the floor. When you inhale, let that pelvis relax. Your ribs should go up a little bit, but your abs should be a little bit active. And then exhale. And that's where you want to draw up that pelvic floor. So think of it like a bowl, and you want the whole thing to come up. You don't want like the front to come up and not the back, or a side, one side versus the other. You want the whole thing to come up as you exhale. So inhale, relax the pelvic floor. Exhale, do your tuck and draw up your pelvic floor. Inhale, relax your pelvis, let it accept pressure. Exhale, ribs down, you're doing your tuck and you're drawing up that pelvic floor. So you can work on that to work on that range of motion of your pelvic floor and to try to get those diaphragms sinking together. focusing on your breathing. Breathing is so huge in pelvic floor rehab. It's like the pinnacle of everything, because you need those abdominals to work with your pelvic floor, to work with your back, to, you know, every aspect of that egg. You need working together and balancing each other out. So now we'll do some elevators. Again, there should be no pain with this. So when you exhale, you're gonna draw up that pelvic floor a little bit. Inhale, hold it there. Exhale, you're gonna draw it up a little bit further. We're gonna work our way up into a full Kegel. And then on the inhale, you're gonna let it down a little bit. Exhale, keep it. Inhale, let it down, and we're gonna work our way down, okay? So we're gonna work on those exhales, or draw up the pelvic floor on the exhales. So you're gonna inhale, exhale, you do your tuck, and we're gonna sustain that tuck, and I want you to drop the pelvic floor a little bit. Inhale, keep it there. Exhale, draw it up a little. Inhale, keep it there. Exhale, draw it up. One more exhale. So do that until you're at that maximal Kegel. And now on the inhale, we're going to drop it down a little bit each time. Exhale, you keep it where it is. Inhale, drop it. Exhale, keep it where it is. The whole time your back should be flat and you're keeping that tuck weight through your heels. All right, so you can do that, you know, do 4 or 5 breaths up, 4 or 5 breaths down. You're really paying attention to the tension in your pelvic floor, keeping it where it is versus moving it, envisioning that elevator going up and then going down. So the last exercise we're gonna do is quick flicks. So like I said, the pelvic floor muscles are like any other muscle. They have both slow and fast fibers. So you want to train both. If you think of an orgasm, the pubic pubococcygeus muscle is really involved in that, and that's the quick flicks. So very good muscle if you're having issues, you know, attaining an orgasm, or you just don't have a good one. Strengthening those muscles, as long as it's pain-free, is beneficial. So when we do quick flicks, you want to do 10 and then rest. So you're not like doing it for minutes. It's, you know, you don't want to overdo it. So you're going to tighten, relax, tighten, relax, tighten, relax for 10, and then take a break.
Hug and a kiss.
You want a hug and a kiss?
Yep, then I'll go back to bed.
Okay, and then you'll take a nap? Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm doing a video. So yes, same position. When you're starting Kegel work, you want to be, if you can, in a horizontal position, because that takes gravity out of it, so you can really focus and control things. And then you graduate into sitting, and then graduate into standing. So it's harder the more upright you get. So let's do a couple sets of the 10 quick flicks. So you want to do that tuck, your ribs are down, so you have some good core balance, and you're just gonna do 10. You can't really synchronize breathing with this. So think, you know, you tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen. The more control, the better. You're just paying attention to how those muscles are moving and how strong they are, and getting control over them. So those are some pelvic floor exercises you can work on if you need some strengthening, if you're not having dysfunction. Like I said, you only want to do it 3 times a week if you don't have any dysfunction, or if you want to prevent dysfunction. You don't want to be doing them every day, especially if you don't have problems. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And like I said before, if you do have dysfunction or more questions, or you think something's wrong, definitely go see a medical provider.